What is up, nerd friends? Welcome back to the Nerd Bench. More new stuff. The all-new Quicrun WP10BL80 Crawler and Outer 3630 motors available in two different KVs, 1700 and 2200 kV. We're going to pop these all-new Outrunner crawler systems open and have a look, talk about all the differences, as well as the brush motor feature. These new Outrunner systems are rated for 2 to 4S and come pre-wired, ready to install. Without further ado, let's pop them open and take a look. All right, first up, let's take a look at the speed control. This is an all-new system. Both the motors and the speed controls are kind of new to the whole series. So this is the WP1080 Crawler. There it is again. Well, there you have it, the Quicrun 10BL80 Crawler. Now, this is a sensorless, brushless speed control. It also does brushed motors, and it has the auxiliary input for on-the-fly drag brake. You can connect this guy up to an auxiliary channel that's on either a 3-position switch or a dial, and you'll be able to turn your drag brakes up or down on the fly. Very cool. It is rated for 2 to 4S. It does have a switch mode BEC. It's rated at a 5 amp constant, 10 amp surge. It goes from 6 volts to 8.4 volts. This is 14 gauge wire that's installed with an XT60 on the end. And it does have 3.5 millimeter gold plated bullet plugs. If you do run in super hot conditions, it does have the option to run a fan. It comes with 2.5 millimeter threaded screw mounts so that you can screw a fan in there nice and easy. But for most applications, the fan is probably not going to be needed. Throw the calipers on the case because this thing is a tiny guy. 30 millimeters that direction, 36 millimeters that direction, and the super low height of 15 millimeters to the top side there. So nice, short, compact little speed control. I know the 2-in-1s are all the rage, makes for super clean installs, but every once in a while, a good old-fashioned motor and speed control combo is the way to go. That has been the case for a lot of the comp-style crawlers. They're really looking for ultra-compact size speed controls and motors to fit the weight very far forward with the transmission placement and all that. All right, let's move on to the motor. Now, there are two new outer motors available. 3530 is the size. So it's a 35 millimeter diameter, 30 millimeter length. They're bigger around than they are long. Nice, very compact motor size. And in two different KVs. You get 1700 kV or 2200 kV as your option. And we'll take a look at the 1700 because, I mean, it's pretty much the same. They just have different numbers on the side. There it is. Again, every time. Pop that guy open. You get your instruction manual with your best friend in the whole wide world. And these are 14-pole Outrunner motors. I know we're going to get asked how many poles are those. 14 poles. And something very nice on these guys is the silicone wire. A lot of times Outrunner motors have very stiff, lame wire, or it doesn't come out very clean. These guys come right out at the case with a nice flexible silicone wire so you can route that. And you do just under, like right at about 8 inches of motor wire there. So you're going to have to park the speed control far away you can. And if that's way too much wire for you, the bullet plugs are soldered on so you can remove those. Or if you wanted to direct solder your wires onto the speed control, that can be done also. Bullet plugs are nice for cleaning up the truck and installs and all that. But have a look here. You do have the phases are marked A, B, and C, so you can at least do your builds the same from one to the next. With a sensorless setup, you kind of always want to make sure that your middle wire on your motor goes to the middle wire on the speed control, and then you can use the outside 2 wires to set the direction of the motor. If you swap those, it'll change the forward direction. But if you like the certain pattern, or I guess you want your wires to all line up, there is a motor rotation setting in the speed control as well to adjust. Put the caliper on here, just to give you an idea. You got that 30 millimeter length. Got the 35 millimeter diameter, Outrunner style. So when you spin the shaft, the outside of the motor is what does all the work. And basically, compared to a regular motor, this is inside out. Normally, the shaft is the magnet, and that does the spinning, and the stator has the winding in it. As you can see here, the windings are on the inside, and the outside can has the magnets in it. This is what's commonly known as an Outrunner motor, and that's where the name comes from. It's the Outer 3650. Front side, it does have normal bolt pattern for what a normal 550 motor was. So anywhere that a 550 or a 540, a normal 10 scale size motor would fit, this guy can get bolted right in there as well. And it does have an 1/8 inch or 3.125 millimeter shaft. And just to get you an idea here, that guy comes in right about 15 millimeters at the length. And like I said, that is the same for the 1700 as well as the 2200. We won't bore you with all those details. Why do I always get the instruction manual out in these videos? Because there's good stuff in here. For whatever reason, you can't get to the internet, keep your instruction manual in your toolbox. This guy has onboard programming. Not only can it be tuned with the LCD Program Box Pro or the LED program card, it has built-in onboard button and light tuning. This little chart breaks that all down. The thing that you need to keep in mind is there's two types of beeps. A long beep equals a 5 and a short beep equals a 1. It can throw people off a little bit as they're counting through the settings. We're going to hook this speed control up and show you that onboard programming here in just a second. Oh God, he's still got the manual out. In addition to good information on your speed control, if you are using an LED program card and the sticker on the box doesn't match, you can use the setting chart. This will tell you what all the numbers mean. The boxes are just displays, and you can ignore the sticker and always reference your instruction manual settings. We're going to cover basic calibration. This is the process for the speed control to learn the outputs of your throttle channel on your radio. It's typically a one-time deal, but if anything wonky happens with radio settings, you can always redo the calibration process later on down the road. But before everything works correctly, calibration should be done. To start the process, we have two buttons on our switch, the power button and the set button. Hold down the set button, tap the power button, starts to beep, you let go. You then tap the button to set neutral, you apply full throttle, tap the button again to set full throttle, hold it full reverse, tap again. It beeps once, twice, 3 times as you go through that process, and that is basic calibration. Once completed, you get operation, you see there, you get a red light at partial throttle, green light comes back on at full throttle, and a green light at neutral. The Quicrun WP10BL80 Crawler also has onboard programming, so you can do the setting changes without the use of an LED card or the LCD program box. I'll show you that process now. It's pretty similar to doing the calibration. You're going to long press and hold this button, power it on, keep holding the button down, it'll flash red like this, and then you'll go into the settings. So that's 1, that's 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is a long beep, 6 is a long and a short, and so on and so forth. It goes on like that all the way until it loops back around to setting number 1. Now the reason I'm showing you that, but before you get in there, you're going to want to know what number to stop on. So now that we know what the numbers look like, that 5 is kind of weird, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch this guy over from the brushless mode to the brushed mode, because the WP10BL80 does brush motors as well, and a lot of you guys may be doing that, won't have a programmer, so this will probably be the most commonly watched section. So now that we know what that's going to look like, we're going to get into the setting modes. It's a long press and hold. It's flashing red. We wait for it to flash green. We start to pay attention. That's 1, and that's 2. That's where we want to be, so we let go. It tells us it's in setting 2 now. We tap the button. That'll get it into setting number 1. And to save the setting, all we do is power off the speed control. Now we're in brush mode. Something that's very crucial when you switch from brushless to brush mode or brush to brush mode, do not operate the throttle while you're doing that for obvious reasons. It'll be very bad for the brushed or the brushless motor. So for the purpose of this, I got some handy dandy alligator clips. Our motor wires go into the A and the C motor terminal for brushless stuff, if you're going to set it up for brush motors. And I'm just using these alligator clips because I didn't have the right set of wires to show you this correctly. But radio is turned on. And this is after it's already been switched into the brush mode. That is very, very important. But as you see here, we got brush motor operation. Pretty cool. So just as another quick demo to go back to brushless mode, we'll do that real quick here. Hold down the set button, power it on. This guy's flashing. It'll go green. With no motor connected, you get no beep. And we go to section 2, let go. It's in setting 1. We tap it. That'll make it go to setting 2. If you're not sure you did it, you can wait a second. It'll do it again. And to save, you just power off the speed control. We're back in brushless mode. We're back in brushless mode now. I have the motor hooked up correctly, ABC. And I also have our auxiliary input connected to my auxiliary channel that I have assigned to my 3-position switch here. And this is drag brake on the fly. So right now it has normal drag brake. There's a little bit of resistance there. If I flip that switch I have no resistance. So I can turn the drag brake on, I have resistance, I turn that off, I have no resistance. So it allows you to adjust the drag brake on the fly. It can be very handy for different terrain conditions, or if you're putting this into a rig that does a lot of go fast trail running and some slow speed crawling, you can adjust that on the fly. All right, next we're gonna go through the settings or the parameters or the tuning options that the 10BL80 crawler has available. For that, we're gonna use the LCD Program Box Pro. It does, like I said, work with the program card, or it does have onboard programming as we just showed you. But using the boxes, make sure that you connect the speed control double-ended harness into the right side. Very few speed controls use the input harness these days. They all have a dedicated program port on the speed control, and it is marked for orientation because, like everything, the plug direction does matter. Get that guy plugged in there. So I got that connected correctly. I got the battery pack there, and I power on the speed control. You get to your welcome screen, and you do hear some beeping right now, and that is because this guy is equipped with a no signal safety. Because I'm not plugged into the receiver, it'll beep at us a little bit. So if you ever do have tuning problems, these guys won't work, they block you out, just unplug it from the receiver. That'll usually take care of it. We jump into parameters, and the beeping comes to an end. We'll roll through all these settings, tell you what they're all about. Running mode sets the running mode of the speed control. You have forward and brake, forward, reverse and brake, and forward and reverse. This is so that when you get into brush mode, you can set it up for forward only if you want to. But for the most part, we're all going to be using forward and reverse for brushless crawling. Motor type, there's two different types of motors that this operates with, brushless and brushed. And obviously it's a sensor-less speed control, so it really only runs in sensorless mode. It will operate a sensored brushless motor without the sensor wire plugged in. It's just not going to operate it very well. Voltage cutoff is the level of the battery voltage. You can turn it off for nickel metal hydride or non-LiPo batteries, and then you have a low, a medium, and a high setting. And that is the level of the voltage. So low is lowest, high is highest. Low is going to be around 3.3, maybe a little bit lower per cell. Medium is probably 3.5 to 3.7. And I say about because the voltage level will vary a bit depending on condition of the battery, the plugs, temperatures, how you're checking the voltage of your battery on the charger or with a voltmeter, that sort of stuff, all matters. So it does vary a little bit, and that's why we have high, medium, and low and not actual numbers, because folks be like, it doesn't match the number. Well, it's not supposed to. You got motor rotation. This controls the forward direction of the speed control. So if you put it in and you like the way the wires are, you don't want to swap motor wires, and when you apply throttle, the motor runs reverse, you can use this setting, motor rotation, to change that. BEC voltage allows you to change the voltage of your BEC. You have 6 volts, 7.4, or 8.4 volts. The 8.4 volts doesn't work when you're using 2-cell, because 2-cell doesn't have enough voltage for that to happen. Drag brake is the power of the hold brake, or your drag brake. It's not for drag racing, obviously, but it's how strong the brakes are on an incline. Drag brake rate is how quickly the speed control applies those drag brakes. I use this comparison all the time. If you were in a real car driving along, pushing on your brakes, this is how quickly you'd apply the actual brakes. So the drag brake rate cranked way up makes the truck stop immediately. If you start to lower that, it'll be a more gentle stop, if you will. Reverse force is the strength of the reverse power. Why is that ever turned down? Some of us aren't very good at using our reverse, so this default's a little bit lower, makes the reverse a little less twitchy, because most of us can apply throttle very smooth, but we're not super good at applying reverse. Brake force. This applies to the normal basher driving mode when you have push brake involved. Not going to work in rock crawling, but it does control the overall strength of the push brakes when you apply standard push brakes. Punch is how linear the speed control is. If you have very good batteries, very good connections, you want instantaneous throttle response, crank the punch all the way up. As you want smoother, slower throttle response, maybe you got a real twitchy throttle, you can lower that to help compensate for that. Neutral range is the deadband or the zone of the neutral, how wide the neutral area is. The wider that is, the more consistent your drag brakes are going to be. If you're using double tap reverse, that gets a little more consistent. For most of us crawlers, it's not a big deal. If you do have any problems with your drag brake consistency, maybe the motor wants to creep a little bit, you can increase the neutral range to compensate for that. Basically, a throttle neutral will shift or shimmy digitally. I mean, you might not see it or feel it, but that neutral can move around, and that's what this setting exists for. FOC power. So this is a hybrid FOC Outrunner system is the way engineering department explained to me. It's not full super FOC, but we can adjust the sensitivity of that FOC, how hard the speed control tries to lock the throttle and the RPM together. Some folks like that very high, some folks don't, so this is adjustable for that exact reason. Low speed throttle. The startup range. You can get a very low speed throttle out of these, and you can adjust how far into the throttle that goes. So if you want it to be very sensitive at the front of the throttle, you'd start to lower this. If you need a nice kind of gentle entry, more throttle input with less throttle response, you would start to raise this setting. And then, of course, you have the reset parameters. Also, basic operation: to get into a setting, you press down on the scroll wheel, that'll get you in. You press down to select the setting that you want, and then you press save to actually save that setting. It won't put the settings into the speed control unless you hit the save. That's a first look at the new Quicrun Outer 3530 series of Outrunner sensorless rock crawl motors, available in 2 different KVs, 1700 or 2200 kV, and the WP10BL80 Crawler brushless and brushed speed control. I will be doing full installs, run-throughs on the rocks, all that fun stuff in an upcoming episode. Don't you worry. If you do have any questions, comments, or concerns, shoot us an email, northamerica@hobbywing.com. Do you like podcasts? We have a podcast. It's called RC Stuff, powered by HOBBYWING. We give away free RC stuff each and every episode. All you have to do to find out how to enter to win is listen to an episode. Just look up RC Stuff powered by HOBBYWING on your favorite podcast service, or check the description down below. I put a link. And as always, folks, thanks for watching another episode of The Charlie Show, right here on the HOBBYWING official YouTube channel. Are you going to Proline by the Fire? So are we. We'll have all this stuff and all of the new quick releases at the booth. Special show prices. Come say hi.